How do you understand what your body needs?
And we believe that most of health is going to be delivered via AI.
Top 3 things everyone should do to live longer and healthier life.
Focus more on the quality of all of your inputs.
How you actually want to change the healthcare system.
I think a big part of health is happiness.
Why do you need a blood test?
People should do a blood test at least twice a year. Your hormones have to be balanced.
I'm not sleeping, I'm awake to live longer.
If you sleep 4 hours instead of 8, we add 15 years to someone's life. Most mental health challenges start with the body.
Today I have a very special guest, the founder of Superpower, Marchione.
Anastasia, excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. So what's your superpower?
Identifying other people's superpowers. I'm obsessed with this idea of how to find amazingly talented people and give them way more empowerment than they've ever had before. And one thing I think about often is how you can have someone who works at a company and they do okay work, and then they go to start a company and their company becomes a unicorn and they do amazing work. And you have to ask the question, why does that person go from doing okay work to starting a unicorn? And yes, part of it is incentives, but I think the bigger part is empowerment. So I think my superpower is finding amazing people, having an eye for when someone is insanely cracked or insanely great, and then empowering them beyond what is normal, and often when they're young and before they've actually done anything.
Cool. And what's your company actually does?
So I'm running a company called Superpower, and we're building a new healthcare system at the highest level. And if we look at what does that actually mean? Well, there's a few beliefs. We believe that most of health is going to be delivered via AI, and AI will far exceed human doctors. We think that consumers will be empowered to take action, right, with the fewest intermediary bodies, and we do that today, right? We have an AI doctor that connects the dots across your data. We empower consumers to take action, right? We allow them to get diagnostics and supplements and pharmaceuticals and medical information without it being gated by the system. And then in the longer term, what we believe is that the cost of healthcare should be regulated by physics, not regulation and incentives. And a drug should, with physics, it's $10,000, and with regulation, it's $10, and with regulation, it's $1,000. So we want to reduce healthcare costs by around 100x in the future. So that's at the highest level what we're doing, creating a new healthcare system. Today, we have a $199 a year membership, so around the price of Spotify or Netflix or Amazon Prime, that gives someone 100 plus blood biomarker tests, all data in one place, 24/7 access to a medical team, an AI protocol, and then 20% off every supplement pharmaceutical diagnosis. That's $199 a year.
Wow, it's a lot for like almost 200
Yeah.
per year. Yeah. And I heard that you and your team inject each other every morning with some like magic shots. So what exactly is it?
Yeah, every Friday before all hands, we have a Friday team breakfast with occasional peptide injections. Actually, just before I came here, I was injecting someone on our team. He basically said to me, "Max, I'm coming down with a sore throat. Can you help?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we don't get sick at Superpower. No one should ever get sick at Superpower." And every time someone's about to get sick, we give someone a peptide injection, and they do not get sick. I used to get sick maybe 5 times a year. I don't get sick anymore because of these compounds. So that's one example.
Is it legal? Can you buy it in like pharmacy?
Some of them, yes, some of them, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's your secret recipe?
Maybe. I'm starting to become everyone's peptide dealer, apparently. I don't know why I've gotten that name, but that's what people are starting to say.
Cool. What is the top 3 things everyone should do to live longer and healthier life?
One is focus more on the quality of all of your inputs than dogmatic diets. Right, so I think there's this meme, oh, do I need this diet? Do I eat meat? Do I eat vegetables? Do I eat fish? Do I drink milk? There's all of these like, and people are looking for binary answers. They're looking for, yes, do this, no, don't. I think the only binary answer I have is that people should obsess over ingredient quality. A pizza can be healthy if you have really high quality cheese, really high quality tomato, really high quality wheat, your metabolic health is good, then it can be healthy. So I'd obsess over ingredient quality, and basically that means eliminating anything that is processed, right? If you basically can't kill the animal or pick it off a tree or out of the ground, it's probably not good. So anything packaged, anything processed, get rid of immediately. So that's number one, ingredient quality, and that means also getting rid of anything processed. I think number two is, and it sounds kind of trivial to say it, but I do think the getting the basics of sleep right goes a long way. Um, and I think that people's general literacy around sleep is still has a long way to go, right? And the basics are cold room, block lights, block sound, be psychologically calm before bed, don't drink alcohol before bed, stop eating 3 hours before bed, etc. I think the third thing, which is maybe the more interesting one, is just choose to be happy. I think a big part of health is happiness, and I think a lot of people determine their happiness by the world around them. They're like, "Oh, fuck this person, fuck this environment. I can't do anything. It's not my fault. This person's making me angry. This place is making me." I'm like, no, you can choose how you feel. So I think just choosing to be more positive and happy and joyous actually goes a really, really long way. So that's probably the third thing.
Cool. And at Superpower, you work with a lot with preventive medicine. So how do you think it's affecting longevity?
Heart disease is the number one killer in the US, and I would contend that it's just about completely preventable. Right, the number one killer in this country we could eliminate as a cause of death. And that's the reason why is we understand the mechanism by which your arteries have plaque that calcifies, that causes them to clog, that causes a heart attack. We understand that mechanism. And we can assess years or decades in advance whether you're starting to have something that could result in a heart attack down the road. We have the sense. We can look at ApoB, apolipoprotein B. We can look at LP little a, which is lipoprotein A. We can look at VLDL. We can look at oxidized LDL. We can look at blood biomarkers to give us a real sense of your heart disease risk, not in 2 years, but in the future. And as a result, we have the therapeutic interventions to take steps to actually prevent things. Now, that's true of the number one killer. If we get rid of the number one killer, we're already doing a pretty good job. But I contend that's also true of many of the other things, right? I often hear things like, "Oh, I don't know why I got autoimmune disease." Well, cancer came out of nowhere. We hear these things all the time, as if there's nothing we can do about it. Now, I would contend that if you actually look deeply enough and you're actually looking at enough biomarkers and analyzing them, you can start to see early signs, silent signs, but early signs years or decades in advance. And most of the world misses those silent signs.
So you're doing like a lot of this like shots or drinking a lot of vitamins, right? So how do you understand what your body needs and what is work and what doesn't? Are you doing like often blood tests or you just rely on how do you feel?
I think probably three things. One is understand what is happening at the biological level, right? Sometimes if we don't have interoception, we don't know what we need. We don't have the symptoms. And as a result, we need to actually just go to biology. And I do generally believe that if all of our biomarkers are amazing across blood, heart, liver, inflammation, hormones, gut health, toxin exposures, if all of our biomarkers are amazing, we tend to be in pretty good health. So that's number one, obsess over the biology. Number two is obsess over your symptoms, and don't say good is good enough, right? Or okay is good enough. If you feel a little bit tired, if you feel a little bit of brain fog, if you eat something and feel off, if you wake up not feeling refreshed, if you don't feel like your 10 out of 10 self the whole time, there is probably something going on. And you can probably use health as a tool to actually improve things. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I feel okay. I don't feel as good as I did 3 years ago, but I feel okay. And they just get complacent. I don't think we should accept that. If we're not feeling amazing, then let's start to take steps to feel amazing. And the third thing um, is looking at what you, the minutia of what you notice, right? How can we actually start to develop the interoception to actually understand deeply how we feel? And I think after you do enough, like I've worn a continuous glucose monitor for some time, or a ring for some time. I don't need the Oura ring to know my sleep score anymore. I don't need the Oura ring to know my HRV. I don't need the blood glucose monitors to know the impact of food on my blood sugar. I can like feel it in my body. So I think training interoception actually goes a long way to allow us to make micro adjustments day to day that support optimal health.
Yeah, you need to be like super present, and like, yeah. feel like all the time think like, okay, how do I feel, like why it's happening, and any like recommendations or like vitamins you take in when you, I know, like sad, or if you have no energy, or like I know that you have like your morning stack, right, which you're taking in the morning, like, or sleep stack. So what is it, what you're
So the
taking?
first thing is people need to solve for the foundations of health. A lot of people are like, I feel low energy, so I'm going to take vitamin B. I'm like, yeah, but why do you feel low energy? So the first thing is, how do we solve for the foundations? And if I look at the foundations, I would say hormones. Your hormones have to be balanced, right? You lower disease risk, but also feel better today. The second is gut health. If someone's gut health is out, it impacts everything. It impacts energy levels, it impacts digestion, it impacts mood, it impacts mental health, it impacts cognition, it impacts disease risk. The third pillar I would say is micronutrients and minerals, right? Are our levels correct? This is where maybe supplementing vitamin D is useful, or vitamin B is useful, right? Do we have enough magnesium? Do we have enough zinc? Unfortunately, in the modern world, soil is mineral depleted, and foods are nutrient depleted, and as a result, we often have minerals and micronutrients out of balance, right? So that's probably the third thing. The fourth thing is inflammation. We want inflammation to be very low. The fifth thing is toxins and liver health. We don't want our liver to be working on overdrive. We want to be clearing out toxins. We don't want microplastics and PFAs and mold and heavy metals in our body. All of that is physically taxing, neurologically taxing, etc. So these are some of the things that I call the foundations. And then probably the final one I'll call out now is metabolic health. Is your metabolism good? Are you responding and processing sugar correctly? Are you processing fructose correctly? And if you solve metabolic health, you tend to have higher energy. So I think the first thing someone has to do is say, let me solve all of these foundations systemically. Let's solve hormones, micronutrients, minerals, gut health, toxins, metabolism. And when you do that, you typically end up being a far healthier and happier and better person at the end of it.
Yeah, cool. And how often do you think everyone should do a blood test? Because I know I feel that like I'm originally from Ukraine, and it's like so popular in Ukraine. You doing like health check and blood test every like 6 months, and it's like must. And here in US, I know like when I visited my doctor, she said and asked like, okay, let's do a health check. She said like, you looks fine. Are you feel okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling great. So she's like, why do you need a blood test? So it's like what? So what's your thoughts? How often everyone should do a blood test?
Yeah. So again, this goes to one of the beliefs I said at the start, which is consumers should be given information and empowered to make decisions. Right. I think there's this idea in medicine of consumers can't make choices. We need to protect them. They haven't had medical. I'm like, maybe that was true in a world where the internet didn't exist and AI didn't exist. But today, smart people are good at making decisions when supported with a system and AI, online information. My view is people should do a blood test at least twice a year, and they should test over 100 plus blood biomarkers. If you look at the state of the US, it's more like once every 3 years, testing 15 markers rather than 100. And that's because the system in the US is engineered for sickness. It's not engineered for optimal health. It's not engineered for prevention.
In your app, on your platform, on onboarding, you're saying that right now is the hardest time to be healthy. So why? Do you think it will be even worse in the future?
I think that today, in many respects, the system kind of works against us. Food is nutrient depleted. Blueberry now is 6 times larger, but has the same nutrients. That means you need 6 times the sugar and 6 times the calories to get the same nutrients. And that's true of everything. Soil and water is mineral depleted. The supply chain is quite contaminated. There's microplastics in everything. You cannot avoid them. And we're starting to see the studies that show the impact of microplastics on Alzheimer's risk and heart disease and potentially even cancer. There's so much information and misinformation out there. There's a lot of dogmatism on the internet. There's the hardcore carnivore people. There's the hardcore vegans. There's the people who say have honey for breakfast every morning, a jar of honey, and that's the healthiest thing. There's so much dogmatism out there. So it's hard to know what to trust. Supplements and pharmaceuticals, the quality is really varied. Every second brand in Amazon is a fake brand. Supplements don't contain what they say they contain. If they do, they might contain other things which are not good for you. They might contain arsenic or lead, which is increasingly becoming common. So it's just really hard. We have more information than ever, but a system that works against us. a challenge to find what's actually true. And as a result, it is actually quite hard to just live our lives and be healthy. Instead, we have to be quite intentional about it if we want to be healthy.
I feel that right now everyone's trying to find, organic products and like better quality, go to like, Sunday market and get the groceries there. Do you feel that like in the future it will be easier to be healthy?
Yeah, I think so. I think AI really helps us because an AI in the optimal world knows exactly what the answer is. We don't have to work out the answer. We don't have to hunt around for the right product. We don't have to know which influencer to trust. In an ideal world, which I think we get to soon, the AI knows more or less exactly what the answer is. And then I think we have a lot of private market companies that are innovating on providing things that support health. Right, there are more companies than ever creating the healthy version of food, the healthy version of water, allowing you to filter things in the environment, creating supplements that are actually better for you, commercializing frontier therapeutics and compounds and different devices. So I do think that things are going to change, and it's going to start becoming easier to be healthy.
Modern medicine actually more focusing on like physical body. Do you have any insights how to connect mental health to your physical health? Because for me, it's more like chicken and egg problem. If it's mental first, then we have psychosomatic problems, right? Issues. But also from other side, a lot of people saying that in healthy body you have a healthy mind. So do you have any findings about this balance?
I am strongly of the view that most mental health challenges start with the body.
Really?
And I've seen this time and time again, where a friend comes to me and tells me about their anxiety or their depression and the drugs they're on. And I say to them, cool, let's try to fix your hormones and let's try to fix your gut. And every single time, they no longer have the problems they had, right? So I think that gut health and hormones go a long way in healing the body, which as a result heals the mind. And if we look at one thing we know is that in the US, mental health rates are far higher. And people will say things like, it must be social media. Like, hold up a second. In Italy and Australia, where I've lived, they use a lot of social media, and we don't have the mental health crisis that exists in the US. So either the US is just overdiagnosing, which is maybe partially true, or there's something else going on. If you look at the US, everyone's gut is an absolute mess because the food system's a mess, the packaged food is a mess, the use of high fructose corn syrup and seed oils and the lack of nutrients in foods and the processing of grain and flour and absolutely everything is really disruptive to the gut. And I think we'd get a long way by healing people's guts if we're trying to tackle the mental health crisis.
Wow, interesting. So actually, like, if you will heal the human's gut, like you will heal their, I know, mental health and like depression. You're saying so.
Not always, but I've seen that be the case often, particularly in
Okay,
the US.
okay. So I know maybe then we should, I know, instead of like going to psychologists, and like take pills from depression, we just need to go to a different doctor. Yeah.
I think that's the first step. Like, I'm not going to say there aren't psychological components. There probably are, and it's reflexive, and therapy can be helpful, and compound and assisted therapy can be helpful. But if your foundations are unstable, you got to solve the foundations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Agree.
kind of like that story of the babies in the river. And there's like there's babies in the river, and two people pulling the babies out of the river. And they just keep pulling the babies, and where are they all coming from? Then one of them decides to run up the river, and the other one's like, "Where are you going? You're gonna help me." He's like, "I'm gonna see where the babies are coming from. Like,
Yeah.
who's throwing babies
Yeah.
in the river?" And I think right now we're in the mode of pulling the babies out of the river, and we should get in the mode of actually running upstream to see what the actual cause is.
Yeah, fully agree. And are you going to measure somehow these dependencies between like mental health and physical health in Superpower app?
We will over time. Yeah, we want to define a new standard of care, and we want to build out the data set of what works, right? We want to see, oh, wow, we discovered this thing works that the world wasn't necessarily aware of or familiar with. And that means understanding someone's mental, physical, and everything else.
You wrote that your dream is to help the world to get 8 hours of sleep in 5 hours. How is it even possible?
Well, of 60 billion people to ever live on Earth, millions sleep 4 to 5 hours a night, have a gene that encodes for it, and feel fine, think fine, act fine, physically fine, and live just as long. Millions, right? So what we know is there's some gene that encodes for short sleeping. And I think an interesting question, like of the 60 billion people who have lived on Earth, no one's lived past 140. It's like, what's easier? Is the easier thing maybe allowing everyone to sleep less, or is the easier thing allowing everyone to live past 140? I'd say sleep less. We already have millions of people who do it. And if you sleep 4 hours instead of 8, we add 15 years to someone's life.
Wow, so we have
Not to
more
the end of
time.
it, but throughout their life, right? To me, that's a form of lifespan extension.
Interesting. Maybe then we need to count the years somehow differently because you actually like live in kind of longer, but in the same period of time. I
Yeah,
love this
totally.
point. Yeah, I love this viewpoint.
It's kind of like interesting, right? Because today we know that if you sleep less, you live shorter, right? That's like true for most people. No, I think I haven't looked at the data behind this, but I think an interesting thing is like if you sleep 3 hours less per night, do you actually end up having more waking hours in your life? Even if you like die a little bit younger, you have more. You probably do have more waking hours in your life. Now, I'm not saying do that, but I think it's interesting how we kind of sometimes define longevity wrong. We define longevity as how many years did you live? I think there's something to do with the number of experiences you have that has to be in that definition of longevity, right? And I think if we capture longevity with a definition that is around the number of experiences you have, we capture the fact that your waking hours matter, that your perception of time matters, right? If you perceive time moving very quickly, you potentially live for.
But
Yeah.
what if this quality of like waking up will be like worse, compared to like, I know, 10 hours per day or like 12 hours per day, right? So you will just like feel more tired, and like you want to go to sleep, but you just like stopping yourself. I'm not sleeping, I'm awake to live longer, kind of.
Yeah, I think right now what we have is we have objective and then like counterbalancing metric. And objective people frame as live longer, and counterbalancing metric we have frame as like live better. And the thing some people realize is that if you live longer without living better, what's the point? So yeah, there has to kind of be that counterbalancing metric. I do wonder whether there's a single objective that we could optimize for that captures both of them in one. I do think something along the lines of experience per unit time gets close, right? Or like positive experience per unit time gets close. No, sorry, not per unit time, over your life gets close. But yeah, right now we kind of need those two metrics.
So you're measuring your sleep from like 16 years old. What is the main patterns and dependencies have you found?
A colder room helps me sleep.
Cold room?
Yeah, for sure. Cold room and heavy
So you're
blankets.
sleeping with AC?
Air conditioning every night, everywhere.
Have you tried this bed which regulated the temperature of your sleep? Like these mattresses,
I have.
like
I
fancy.
haven't loved. I've tried a couple of them. I haven't loved them, but they work for a lot of people. I'm very sensitive to temperature, and I find my body temperature just fluctuates a little bit more using those mattresses. But I think people should test them and see whether it works for them. Cold room helps me. Eye mask helps. Mouth tape helps. Challenging if you have a partner. Earplugs help. No food 4 hours before bed helps actually quite a lot. L-theanine, glycine, magnesium, GABA are a safe stack of supplements that definitely help.
So are you taking magnesium like every night?
I'll take magnesium, glycine, and L-theanine basically every night. And then occasionally I will add small low-dose melatonin, and occasionally I'll add GABA. It's a neurotransmitter, and it's associated with relaxation and sleep. And you can actually just supplement it exogenously. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm trying to like yeah, experiment with my sleep as well, and I'm usually wearing Whoop to track my sleep too. And I'm trying to experiment of like kind of habits. For example, I'm like using this perfume with lavender smell, and then falling asleep, and then it's like working for me, yeah, as a habit. So like first I'm using this perfume. Okay, it's a sign to go to sleep. Or we actually with my partner experimenting to sleep in different bedrooms, and sometimes this helps as well. So yeah, I feel like more relaxing. But actually the the funny thing is that Whoop showing that like I get better sleep if I'm sleeping with my partner. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm not sure how to measure it.
Mm. Yeah, I think we have to like normalize that it's fine for partners to not sleep in the same bed if it's affecting your sleep. And at least the studies on this show that when partners don't sleep in the same bed, they end up having a better relationship across every
Yeah,
dimension.
I heard about it too.
So maybe there's something there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's worked for me. Yeah, improve it.
Yeah.
What decisions in the past influenced you to set up the goal to change healthcare system?
I had a lot of personal health challenges, and I saw that I believed and saw that healthcare wasn't being practiced correctly. I've always also believed that health is a tool to enhance life, right? Part of it is like curing sickness in a way that's more effective, but I'd contend the more important part of it is how do we use health to actually enhance humanity, to make us happier, healthier, more energetic, able to create more and do more in the world. So I've been really obsessed with that idea. And I don't think there's many ideas that actually push the world forward and matter for the planet. And health is definitely one of them. So that's part of it as well.
So how you actually want to change the healthcare system? It
Point,
sounds huge and almost
yeah,
impossible.
yeah, we want to create a new health system. That's what we say before the health system, so that no one ever has to enter the sick care system that we have today. Part one is how do we use AI to deliver care? Right? Like my belief is that AI will far, far, far exceed what is possible for the human brain. Right? It knows everything about you, everything about medicine, can compute between those two databases very effectively. We're not there yet, but we have to get to a world where the algorithm tells us what to do, and we know it's accurate. It's provably accurate. The second thing is empowering consumers with information and the ability to take action off the back of it. The third thing is vertically integrating, owning the full stack, removing middle layers to get costs down, right? I said at the start, a drug with regulation and insurance is $1,000. A drug with physics is $10, right? So how do we actually make healthcare pricing the way it fundamentally should be as constrained by the laws of physics rather than incentives and intermediaries? And then I think the final thing is moving towards a system that sure optimizes prevention, but goes even beyond that and focuses on enhancing human capabilities. I think that what we'll start to see as we enter the world of sci-fi, where health is about actually enhancing what is biologically possible for us humans, and I think that has to be part of a new health system as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to like completely change almost like everything, right? So Forward raised more than $650 million and couldn't make it. So what are you doing differently?
Well, if I look at Forward, they never really built something customers wanted. They took a big bet on care pods.
But they saw that customer needed.
What's that?
They saw that customers needed, right? Why would they build
I
it
think they
then?
had the right problem statement. I don't think they actually understood the specific jobs to be done in psychology of customers. They ended up creating a new primary care experience, which was flashy and like kind of cool, but it was still fundamentally service led primary care, where the primary constraint was the quality of the doctor. And they didn't actually have much of a delta between their quality of care and the One Medical of the world. And as a result, they struggled to acquire users, they struggled to retain users, and then they struggled to make economics and margins work because it was very service led. Then they tried to do care pods, which were interesting, challenging to execute, um, quite dystopian. Someone will crack something like that probably at some stage in the future. I contend Ford was a little bit early. They tried to do everything at once. They built everything. There was no infra they could use to support what they were building. They built their own EMR. They built their own scheduling. They built their own billing. They built everything. And that was true if you that had to be true if you started a company in 2015. Now companies can start and use a lot of APIs, so you can run at things with less capital and fewer engineers. So I think there are a few ways in which forwards failure was like reasonably inevitable, and where we make quite different decisions.
Cool. For me, one of the biggest lessons from Forward is to prove your unit economics before scale. And you selling your membership for like $199 per year. And how you make sure that Superpower will not fall to the same trap.
Well, I think the first thing is like questioning whether that's necessarily a trap, right? If we look at many of the great companies of all time, they've had questionable unit economics in the short term, only to make it up in the long term, right? Amazon, Apple, SpaceX, Tesla, potentially Nvidia. Many had questionable short-term unit economics with really strong long-run unit economics. So probably challenge the assumption a little bit. The second thing I'd say is we're not in the position right now where we are Elon, who can run with bad unit economics and raise a lot of capital. So we need to make sure unit economics are good. And ours are really good across the whole stack.
Yeah, amazing. Are you going to use any blitzscaling techniques as a strategy?
What's an example of one?
Blitzscaling, like Airbnb, when you like fundraising a lot and then trying to like take over like all markets because you actually like have a lot of competitors, right? Who like doing kind of like similar platforms. So yeah, but what's your
Yeah,
strategy?
I'm very for capturing market share. I tend to agree with the Massa-Sun formulation, which is
What is it?
market share over revenue and unit economics. And the basic belief here is if you win the market and there's some monopolistic dynamic in the market, being the biggest allows you to be the dominant player. So I tend to think that approach is right. Now, we have to do that bearing unit economics in mind, bearing CAC in mind, um, uh, and bearing product in mind. I think that works if you have a superior product. I think it's a risky strategy if you have an inferior product and you're overspending on CAC.
I know that you have a framework, your own framework, how to build a billion company. So what is it?
So I think there's like three levels which someone should think about their company. I think you should think about how do you build a $100 billion company at some stage, right? And you need anything. I think anything a venture-backed founder works on should, in their mind, have a linear path to being at least a $100 billion company. I think the second level of altitude is how do you build $1 billion company in 3 years? And it's such a great forcing function. Asking the question or saying we need to be $1 billion company in 3 years. What has to be true to get there is such a great forcing function. And then the third part is how do you get to 10 million in revenue in 1 year? And that's really important because revenue is the primary input that unlocks capital, and capital unlocks team, which unlocks product and the ability to scale. And the reason why I like the 10 mil revenue in 1 year is it forces you to not overbuild, to get to market quickly, to think about what customers actually want. You need to meet a market where it's at versus try to create the future. And I think it's a really great foil or counterweight to the $100 billion idea. The $100 billion idea is great, but if you're too attached to that, you end up looking like forward and you lose sight of what people actually want today. So they're the three altitudes: 10 mil, 1 year, 1 bill, 3 years, 100 bill, 10 plus years.
So when you decided to build Superpower, you analyzed like, okay, how big is the market, right? And then like, have you had like other ideas between which you like decided what you're gonna build or not?
There were two ideas that really infatuated me. One was, do I build a new healthcare system or do I build a new city?
Okay.
I'm still obsessed with this idea of city building in the physical world. I think a lot about what's robust post AGI, and two of the only conclusions I had were cities and physical spaces in the physical world, and land and health, right? So they're the two ideas that really interest me. I hope 50 years from now I'll build a city or do something in the physical world. And I think of this in a very long term time horizon.
How your city would look like? and where it will be.
So I'll tell you my current hypothesis. I think the goal of a city is to create one that simultaneously maximizes health, innovation, and happiness, and do them at the same time. I think most people think they trade off. Oh, you can't have happiness and innovation. You need discontentment for it. I'm like, no, I don't know. I think I'm like reasonably innovative and I'm pretty happy. I've got discontentment, sure, but I've also got happiness. So that's the first thing. So then the question is like, how do you actually structure that? How do you structure an environment that supports that? How do you actually build the infrastructure to support that? I love this idea of obsess over the uh, minutia of like space and size and shape, right? Like, what is the width of the street to the height of the buildings? Do we feel at ease psychologically? Does it mimic nature? I think as much as possible, you should mimic nature. Is everything in the golden ratio? Like, I genuinely think the more you put in the golden ratio, the happier our bodies are, like internally. I would place the city between SF and LA and connect it to SF and LA with the Hyperloop. And the reason why is now you can inherit the network effect of SF and LA. You can get to both in 5 minutes. So you can still live in SF and work in SF and live in LA and work in LA,
So somewhere
but
in
live
San
somewhere
Diego.
nicer. Maybe, yeah.
Cool, love it. And what would be the name of your city?
I have no idea.
Happy City.
Gosh, I don't know.
And what is your two variables of success?
Okay, well, I know what you're getting at, which is like, I often say there's two variables you can use to create a parsimonious or a simple model to predict success. So if we only could look at two things, how would we predict success? I think the two that matter the most are high IQ and low fear. And you want to be 3 sigma in both at the same time. And they're often inversely related. So it's really hard to be 3 sigma both at the same time. High IQ for the obvious reason, because high IQ people make better decisions, point the ship in the right direction. And that's really important. Direction matters. They're good at processing complex problems, working with complex systems. All right. The second thing, though, is low fear. And the problem with a lot of high IQ people is they're very fearful. They're researchers, they overthink, they're perfectionistic. And I think low fear is a huge input into success. Low fear defines agency, bias to action, risk taking, and all of those are necessary to build something great. So what I've seen is that the people who have done the greatest things in the world tend to be very smart and very risk on.
And when you said that you're trying to hire like the best people in the world, so when you're hiring them, are they doing any like IQ tests?
No, the IQ test is I'll speak to them for 5 minutes and vibe check IQ.
Okay. And what would you say to them in like 5 minutes? What would you ask?
Nothing. We'll just chat and I'll vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you will understand it's your personality.
I might be wrong, but yeah, I think I've got I've got a lot of ego around the idea of being good at predicting IQ quickly. I might be wrong, but my current assessment is that it's one thing I do well. So who knows? Maybe I'm just delusional.
I feel that right now AI can actually help with IQ a little bit as well, at least with like brainstorming. So
I feel like, yeah, it's such a fascinating. I almost feel like I should get everyone in the interview to ask the model, what is my IQ?
oh wow,
I think the
love
models
it,
are
love it.
actually really accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, and they're becoming like better and better like every day. So how do you using like AI in your platform in your company?
There's the weak form version and the strong form version. The weak form version asks the question of how do we do everything we do with humans with AI? So we have AI create a protocol. That's actually far better than humans, but it connects the dots across all of your data and tells you what to do. We have an AI you can message, kind of like a ChatGPT, but it knows everything about your health and knows more about overall health and can take some action. We use AI in all sorts of fuzzy workflows, right? Like we'll use AI to upload past lab tests and process that and perform classification identification. So the weak form version of using AI is do everything that we do with the best humans, but just do it with technology. The strong form version of AI is how do we use AI to do something that no human has ever been able to do? And that's where we need to get to. We're not there yet, but part of the reason we exist is to say our job is to allow the AI to far exceed human capability at health. And that's where we want to go.
Do you feel that it's safe to use AI for health if they will, I don't know, recommend something which is not actually good for health, or like hallucinate? how
Yeah.
you
So
detect it.
AI is provably safer than humans today. So is it perfect? No. Is it better than humans? Yes.
Yeah, I even have a story when I broke my neck. The doctor haven't seen like the broke at all, and he looked at an X-ray and said like, "Yeah, you are fine, just painkiller and that's it." And yeah, so maybe like AI would for sure detect it.
Wow. Yeah. What like crazy story,
Yeah,
hey?
yeah, yeah.
And this is unfortunately way too common. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So, how do we see the future of AI in healthcare? Like, are we going to have this, I don't know, AI robots, doctors, or yeah, what's your thoughts?
We're going to all follow the algorithm. I think that we're all going to have an AI that tells us exactly what to do. And it's not exactly what we should do. It also bears in mind our preferences. Like our preference function is an important input into the AI, right? It knows what you'll follow. It knows what you're likely to adhere to. It knows what you care about. And I think the system will be provably superior in a way that makes us trust it. So that's my view. We have a system that tells us exactly what to do, knowing what we want and care about.
Yeah, I feel that it's already like it's already here. A lot of my friends even like asking ChatGPT, like, okay, I have this pain, like what to do, what to drink, like how to solve it, like can I like I have this labs, so what to do, like how to improve my health, and yeah, I feel that it's already like so present.
Totally. I think the catch is today, we don't trust it every time, and it doesn't understand our preference function. Like it doesn't tell it, like if you ask AI what to do, it'll say, do these 10 things, and most people won't do any of the 10 things. I think part of the definition of whether the AI is good is when we actually do the thing every time. And it requires a lot of context in our preferences and on medicine and on all previous conversations to do that. But that's where we need to get to.
Yeah, but I feel that like on your platform, when I get the summary, like how to improve my health and what to do, and all of my like blood tests, that the person messaged me because they knew some nuances from our like emails where I said that I have been on like a hike for 9 miles, so they edited to the summary, and I'm like, okay, so maybe you connect AI to like both email and everywhere, or actually like the person wrote this summary.
No, it's probably the AI. We
Yeah,
just give the
really?
AI a lot
Wow,
of context.
love
Yeah.
it. I love all of your insights. It's really deep and yeah, like super insightful. So last question. So if AGI appears tomorrow, what would you personally do?
What is AGI? We have no idea what AGI is. If we take the strong form interpretation, the AGI is a system that improves itself recursively. Um, Potentially, it has the ability to take action with robots in the world. Um, I'd keep doing what I'm doing, just with slightly more obsession over owning things in the physical world. There's always going to be physical world endpoints required to deliver care, labs, pharmacies, imaging devices, etc. So I'll probably just move to vertically integrate faster. That might be wrong. Again, it's just so hard to know. Whenever I'm asked a question about the future, what I basically always preface with is, I'll give you my answer in the AGI case and the non-AGI case. And my answer in the AGI case is typically, I have no idea. And the answer in the non-AGI case is, here's exactly what I do. So I kind of have an idea, but it's very hard to say what happens in the AGI case.
I see. I see. Yeah, thank you so much.